back to the precious sun. This is our time to shine upon God's
Okay, we have to thank Laura for this one.
and lead us.
All right, dude, I can't.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
I have no words. My words have failed me. I have not seen that yet, and so many thoughts.
So many thoughts. That is from Laura.
Yeah, blame her.
Laura sent that one in as a special selection. All right, so
there were an Oscar for cringe.
Mark, is this your first off? Is this your first off the rails?
It's my first off the rails. I am very excited. I am very excited.
Funny. Oh, I see who's here. Kyle Whittington. Now, I wanted to say something about Kyle real quick, because Kyle filled in for me and hosted trivia the other day. Kyle, you do realize the green screen is meant to have a picture behind you, right?
Do you know what it was? His cowboy hat. It cut the wings off when he actually put something on the green screen. So he decided to just leave it green.
Wow. I'm like, I turned it on and I'm like, why does he have a green screen behind him if he's not gonna? He should have just pulled it down at that point. No, Marco, I gotta tell you, you're probably the only one who said that, and I did see you said it in the chat live on the show. Thank you very much. Also, you guys are all probably going to start. I just started an Avoiding Babylon Instagram right before the show started, and I tried to start following people. I know I got Margot and I got a bunch of people, but I'm going to go through it after the show and I'll start following everybody.
We also have an Avoiding Babylon Facebook now too, with that I've invited like a lot of you to, and no, not a single one of you has followed it, and I don't blame you one bit because it's
Facebook.
Yeah,
Facebook's a weird one, man. I'm not on Facebook.
I haven't. You know when I quit Facebook?
When you got a Twitter?
No, it was finally during George Floyd, during the riot and everything, because the online scene was so toxic. I'd finally had enough, and I was just like, I didn't want to go. I had no desire to go on Facebook for months and months and months. And then I forgot about it, and now I'm lucky, maybe 3 times a year, I'll be like, oh yeah, I have a Facebook account. Let me go check and see what's going on Facebook.
Yeah, I had one like years and years ago, but I wound up getting rid of it.
Now I do like Messenger. I like the features of Messenger, which you have to have a Facebook account in order to use, right? You don't have to have an active Facebook account, but you have to have one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But
so the reason Mark is on, me and Mark were actually on the phone yesterday talking, and we were discussing the Cardinal Dolan article in the Wall Street Journal. And Mark had said to me, he was actually starting to feel a little bit hopeful.
I and I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but maybe it's the last like 3 months, perhaps maybe 2 months, something feels different. There seems to have been a seismic shift, and maybe it was the death of Benedict XVI. I don't know. Maybe it was, you never can tell what the straw is that can cause a catalyst. And I can't articulate what the thing is, but it's the Dolan piece in the Wall Street Journal. It's the fact that Bishop Barron gave faculties to the Pius X Society. Yeah. If in a million years, I never could have predicted that.
Pepperaki called
McElroy a heretic. McElroy.
Bishops, cardinals are not guys who usually do a lot of criticism of the hierarchy.
I gotta say something to this real quick. Yeah. Kyle, yes, he did, but when he was going to do that, he was going to remove Holy Innocents. So because I'm pretty close with Father Mayara at Holy Innocents, and while Dolan was considering bringing them in, we were very worried, and that wound up falling through, especially since Traditionis Custodes, but I'm almost relieved it did, especially when you guys hear this article. So if you guys haven't read this article, Dolan came out and basically, Rob, why don't you pull it up? Let's just read it. It's like he kind of came out,
real long,
necessarily in defense of trads, but in defense of people on the actual peripheries and not the ones that the hierarchy is saying is on the peripheries, because the people that they say are on the peripheries are actually the mainstream, and like I think Dolan calls it like chic, right? It's chic to actually say you're, you know, looking out for these people. So
I can't read it. It's behind a freaking paywall.
No way.
Yes.
That's a shame, and there should be a link to it somewhere because it was an amazing.
Well, you know, we didn't have a paywall.
I'm the first one, and I'm always on our show, and I'm like criticizing the hierarchy for not speaking out. But when they do, we got to give credit where credit's due, man. And Dolan said the quiet part out loud.
I think maybe I can register and read it for free.
Oh, but I was able to read the whole thing originally. I wonder why.
Hold on, let's see.
That. Let me see if I just look.
But you know, if you get a moment, I would encourage everyone. And in fact, I'm constructing my email right now. I am going to write Cardinal Dolan an email and just say thank you, because I think the hierarchy is real quick to hear from us when we're not happy with them. When we do when they do something we like, man, yeah, they ought to get a hey, thank you. You know, every once in a while, it's a thankless job, I'm sure.
Okay, I got the article up. Wait,
okay,
nope, hold on. I think Adrian.
Are we about to commit a felony?
Yep.
Allegedly. This show's even slower paced than trivia.
Well, let me see. I might be able to get it on. Let me see. What's the title of the article?
It is. I don't know.
Oh, you want inclusion? I've got a list.
Okay. Yeah. And so yeah, if you haven't, you know, thought about writing even maybe your parish priest. I've written my parish priest a couple of times and just let him know, hey, Father, I think you're doing a great job. These are hard times. You know, so it's kind of we should all stick together kind of thing. In case nobody can tell, I'm trying to fill the dead air while they.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
and,
that was
my
the other
favorite
thing
color
about the trivia.
Is blue, and
the trivia show actually made me laugh because there was one point where there was dead air, and I hate dead air. Like, I get really uncomfortable with dead air. So, like, you talking was making me very comfortable just now. But you pointed it out during the trivia show, and it was just dead silent. And you were like, "Oh boy, dead air!" And my skin was crawling during that incident.
It's an old interrogation technique that if you want people, if they're not answering your question, just remain silent, and they'll fill the void with extra information.
Oh,
so
look at Molly just be ruthless.
Wow. I wonder why the channel's not going. All right, here we go. Ready? I am proud that my country and my church are both committed to the noble ideal of inclusion. Everyone should feel loved and respected. All people must share in the all rights. We couldn't dare to claim to be one nation under God if it were otherwise. Yet society and the church are falling short of this noble ideal by accepting one dominant cultural narrative that presumes to define those who are excluded. We are ignoring those who don't tidily fit into the prevailing cultural storyline. Want some examples? Moms and dads in lifelong, life-giving marriage, cherishing a large number of children who are routinely ridiculed and regularly stereotyped as threatening the planet. Not just threatening the planet, but because we're talking about 10 years of Francis, you can't forget the breed like rabbits comment by our own Holy Father. And the idea of a marriage, staying together, a lifelong marriage, because what originally started mine and Mark's conversation was I was telling him about my weekend up in the woods with my wife, and it's basically like if you're married and you have children, it's really important that you take time every so often to get away with just your spouse and spend alone time and remember why you like each other. Like, remember why you fell in love in the first place. Now, someone like Rob has a 2 toddlers and a baby on the way. It's going to be insanely difficult in a situation like that. My kids are
we have at least 6 years until we'll get to do that.
But I went through that period already, right? So to get that opportunity to go and spend some time alone in an off-grid cabin where there was no internet and no TV, nothing. It was just time for me and Nicole to just actually sit and talk with each other and just be grateful for one another, for the gifts God has given us, and all
a whole weekend without text from Anthony.
I know, it's kind of just like all of our kids are good. Like none of my kids are like me. Like, dude, I was a bad kid. Dude, I was thinking about it today. Like, I used to steal cars. Like at like 15, 16, I would, like, my parents, if they left the keys in the house when they would go to bed, I would steal the car at 15 years old.
Oh, that's not Grand Theft Auto then. Never mind.
No.
You were talking about Grand Theft Auto.
No. But listen, then at 13 years old, I went up to the gas station with one of my friends, and there was an Indian guy working at the gas station, but he saw me all the time and he knew me. And I'm like, I convinced this guy to let me borrow his car at 13 years old. And it was a driver's ed car that had a brake on the passenger side. Okay. I'm ripping down the road in this car doing like 60, and my friend slams the brake from the passenger side because it's a driver's ed car, and the car was a 180 on 347. It was the most insane thing I've ever done. If you use the keys, it's only joyriding, Kyle's. But yeah, it was like, I think about all the things I did as a kid. Like I mean, I didn't finish high school. I was in trouble. I got thrown out of school because I was at the point where not only was I not learning, I was disrupting other kids from learning.
Wow.
So
that's almost difficult to believe. I mean,
so to have
what you're saying is,
to have 3 kids all with straight A's, really, that, and just, I mean, we were just so grateful for the life that God has given us, man. And it was a really awesome weekend. We had so much fun that as soon as we came home, we were like, all right, when's the next weekend we have to go do it again? And we found another cabin.
Folks,
and
they were unbearable. He was sharing with me the kind of conversations they're having, and I'm like, how am I going to?
We saw text messages. No way. Still nauseous.
Since we came back, she's texting me like love letters, and it was like going on like one of those. What do you call them?
Meanwhile, Anthony's paying me money on the side to write love letters back for him.
I'm getting the insulin shots ready over here. It's ridiculous.
What's that Catholic marriage thing? It's like a Marriage Encounter or Marriage Alive. Like they have those 2 programs. One's Marriage Encounter and one's Marriage Alive. I remember my parents going I remember when I was a kid, I still lived in Levittown, so I was like 11 years old. And my parents went on this Marriage Encounter weekend. And I remember they came back from it. And
nothing will destroy your marriage faster.
Well, they were writing each other love letters and stuff. And I just remember my dad being like, oh my gosh, I gotta write a love letter. It was like he was so not. My mom was in her glory,
Wow.
Talk about a program designed by women for women.
Oh, definitely. But everything Novus Ordo is that way, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So fragile unborn babies who have no legal protection in most states, with all of us forced to pay for the taking care of their lives. Parents, especially struggling ones, who must pay constantly increasing taxes to support monopoly government schools and who are denied the right to use tax dollars to send their children to the school of their choice. Like,
this is Dolan?
This is Dolan, man.
Yes. Yeah.
Citizens who, for ethical reasons, can't obey the tidal wave of bureaucratic decrees on healthcare and are forced to choose between their consciences and their jobs. I guess he's talking about like the Affordable Care Act that forced
the vaccine mandates.
Oh, I didn't even think
that's what that's about.
For ethical reasons,
that's Dolan. That's Dolan weighing in on the vaccine mandates.
Bro, I can't believe this is Dolan.
And what does that tell us? See, I've had
that he's taken the temperature of the room finally.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that the Cardinals as a body, which is usually defined by collegiality, they're done. Not just
Kyle, just so you know, you are our first super chat ever. Thank you so much, Kyle.
I
No, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I just get the feeling that something in the room has changed, and it's not going to be nobody's going to overthrow Francis or anything like that. But at the next conclave, like, it's going to get real. I would pay serious money to be a fly on the wall in that room in the Sistine Chapel and hear those discussions, because
I think you're right. I think people have Francis fatigue, and it's funny because today's the 10-year, or yesterday was the 10-year, or the 13th was the 10-year anniversary of his election, and it's like you go through some of the moments. I mean, the rat breeding right like rabbits comment was one thing, but it's like there were so many of those instances where it was just like, oh man, like, and I remember even from like early on, always having an uneasy feeling, but it took until the McCarrick thing for me to finally go, all right, this is just too much. Like, this is just too
much. Hope all you succeeded in doing was giving YouTube $1.
Yeah.
That's all, because that's our money anyways.
He did it for the joke.
It was worth $1. It was worth
$1.
Well done. Well done.
Hey, no, because me and you got to whack the other $1 up.
All you did was give Anthony 50 cents.
Gave me 50 cents and YouTube $1. I think it's actually 30% YouTube, guys, not 50.
Oh, is that why there's... Did you enable this? Because I thought we had it turned off.
I might have. I don't remember. You're so into doing this for charity, and I'm like, nah, man, we got stuff.
I'm always like, it's really not about making money. And Anthony's over there. Well, I don't know.
Hey, Anthony, you remember what the Bible says? He did this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was in charge of the purse strings and he wanted to keep the money for himself. I always tell people when they always give me the Jesus was a communist argument, I said, no, there's a communist talked about in the Bible. And it's Judas Iscariot. Because he's going on and on about how we got to give this money to the poor, man. And that's all crap. He just wants to keep it for himself.
The funny thing is, before this episode went on, some guy was actually calling me a grifter on Twitter, and Margo was laughing because I was like, grifter? I was like, bro, I'm in debt. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. All right, let's go.
The only bailouts we get are from Australia.
We do have a guest coming on at 8:40, so let's try to at least get through the
that's
article.
right.
Okay, so citizens who for ethical reasons can't obey the tidal wave of bureaucratic decrees on... Oh, we went to that. A gay person trying his best with God's grace to live according to the biblical teaching, who hears church leaders call that morality unjust and oppressive. Think about what he just said there. So you're talking about the people who are trying to let, like a Joseph Chiambra, who left the church because he was so sick of Catholic leaders saying that the teaching in the catechism is unjust and that the language is too harsh.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy that Dolan's saying that. I might have to go.
He also just called out the entire nation of Germany there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I might have to go to St. Patrick's Cathedral and catch him, because he does Sunday Mass at 9 a.m. every Sunday at the St. Pat's Cathedral.
What do you think, out of all the things that you've seen, what do you think is the thing that for whatever reason has caused the show? What is the thing Francis has done or did that was the point of no return for people? I can tell you what it was for me, but it's like a lot of people, it's the Pachamama thing. For a lot of people, it was something maybe he wrote or something.
I've seen more.
Are you asking besides, when was I red-pilled? Like, when was I finally like, I've had enough?
Yeah. When was that?
It was McCarrick.
It was McCarrick. Okay.
McCarrick.
But I feel like the church hung in there with him even after that for a while.
What were you guessing, Rob?
I was saying that I've seen more like of your normie Caths come around since Traditionis Custodes.
It's like exactly what I was going to say.
It's like they wanted to believe all the best intentions until they saw him go after, co-religionists. A small group of Catholics who, honestly, yes, have problems. Right, we do as a movement, but I think most normal Catholics who were familiar with traditionalists at least saw that we were just trying our best to live a Catholic life, and suddenly the Pope's, coming down, on top of us.
I think Traditionis Custodes exposed the cracks for me. To me, it made the average person look and go like, wait, why is he doing
that's what
this?
I was going to say, Mark. Like so I noticed a significant change in you with Traditionis. Like you were very...
I was the apologist.
Yeah, you were patient.
It's not that bad. He may have misspoke. I misspeak all the time. Okay, the Pachamama thing was really somebody else's idea, and he got caught up. I was the apologist, and then he signed his name to that document. And I'm sorry, there was just no way a sane person could read that as anything other than a declaration of war. And I thought,
I think it's like. So for me, the thing, first off, who am I to judge threw me off, right? Then the breeding like rabbits thing threw me off. But all those things were like so caught in like a confusing way he said it. But when a Morris came out, it was like, what is this? Like, what does he do? Like, you knew he had bad intentions at that point,
Yeah. And how I explained that one away? I was like, well, that's an appendix and a letter to the bishops. And I'm not a bishop, so I'm not going to worry about it. And I worked really hard. And that's why I get irritated when people are like, oh, you're just anti-Francis. It gives me no great joy to say these things. I hate saying criticizing the Pope.
Because he is supposed to be the Holy Father. He's supposed to be our Father.
Right.
And yet now for the last almost 3 years has done nothing but abuse us, right? Spiritually abuse us.
You want to know why I feel Summorum Pontificum came out when it did? I felt like after the sex abuse scandal stuff broke, Benedict XVI felt like, we got to give him something. We got to give them this. There's no good reason to deny them this. We need to throw the laity a bone, and we need to throw them a big one, and right now, because we're in trouble. I don't think you guys properly understand how angry people are. In Traditionis Custodes, I thought they couldn't even let us have that.
So the thing is,
they hate it that much.
The thing is, with the McCarrick thing, Mark, they had the sex summit right after that. You remember? So they call all the cardinals and they have this big to do. And instead of them, me and Rob just talked about this, instead of them getting in sackcloth and ash and really begging for God's mercy, because the whole world would look different right now if they did that. Right. If they actually did beg God's mercy for their sins, like the whole world would look different right now. I really do think that would be as powerful as a genuine consecration of Russia by the Pope when it was called for. Like to actually say, God, we have sinned against you. Please forgive. You know what they did instead? They made excuses and said that sex between consenting male adults of the same sex is totally fine. It's only bad when it's children. That's literally what they did. They went, and anytime a reporter went and asked, they said, well, we're not going to get into discussing consenting adults. It's like, you guys don't even want to acknowledge that they interactions are sinful.
What they did is they went into a 20-minute USCCB meeting. They came up with some new reporting procedures and then patted themselves on the back at how they cured and solved everything. And the great thing about them is they don't have to listen to anybody. So they have no idea that we're all still really angry with them about that.
Yeah.
Francis has done nothing but protect his friend Zanchetta,
Rupnik. It's crazy what's going on over there. Yeah. So, all right, let's keep going here. Let's see. I'm going to skip one because I want to go to this one, which is really awesome. Young people who are spiritually thirsty for a sense of awe, reverence, and transcendence, but who have difficulty finding a church to satisfy their needs. He is talking about the traditional Latin Mass.
Big time.
We are so sick of tambourine masses. It's not even funny. Except us on this show who love to play Novus Ordo music, but most people aren't like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
hot take.
Yeah. Bring it, Jake. Mark. Well, I was going to say that, like, the thing is, I'm not concerned about the future of the Latin Mass. It's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
The thing that hurt me about Traditionis Custodes is I felt like after they had just learned this lesson, supposedly, but it was just another sign that I will always love a church more than it will ever love me. And that hurts. And it makes me feel stupid. And it makes me feel like a battered wife. And, and it was unnecessary. And I think there are a lot of bishops and cardinals who are not traditionalists who feel like that's crap. Come on. That's crap. We don't do things like that.
Well, Enoch has 100% right. Okay. So I would have never found the traditional Latin Mass without Francis.
Absolutely.
Like, there are good things that come under persecution. I mean, that's just what happens. Like, there always are going to be. Look, we've had it too easy for too long, and God's given us a little bit of a rough run here for our own good. It's like a father who doesn't punish his children isn't really a good father. So what you're seeing is a bit of chastisement, and this isn't even bad. I still have my Latin Mass. I mean, it hasn't been taken away yet, No. Jake says we haven't had a good pope in 100 years. That means Pius XII wasn't a good pope. That means
Pius XII
I disagree with
is
that,
the one I would argue for. The 11th, not so much. Benedict XV, not so much. Those after Pius XII, obviously not so much. But Pius XII, not perfect, but
I actually didn't have a problem with any of them. Maybe some things about Paul VI, but a lot of
things about Paul.
Yeah. Well, here's my problem.
Was as bad as Francis.
Here's my problem, Anthony. It's the Vatican and the stories that come out. You can never know what's real and what's not. And I have to assume the best until I have to assume the best until I can't assume the best anymore. So it's easy to do when I just don't. I don't know. Who knows what the truth of that is, and I'm going to assume the best. Problem with Francis is I'm out of wiggle room now. I don't. He's not giving me a lot to work with here. I don't know.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to take Enoch's point and really understand. Like, I'll tell you, man, I would still be a lighthouse Catholic media guy. I'd still be on the George Weigel first things train. Like, that's where I would be right now. I'd probably be all for the war in Ukraine, bro. Like, I was a neocon. I'm not even kidding. I was a neocon George Weigel guy. Like, that's where I was.
You'd be watching PragerU videos more than Taylor Marshall videos, huh?
Yeah, probably. But who knows what Taylor Marshall would be like?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, you have to understand, it took the McCarrick thing for Taylor to break. Taylor was think about it. Like, Taylor was calling the SSPX schismatic back then. It took the pandemic for him to really look. He started softening his position on the society after McCarrick, but it took the pandemic for him to just full out go, I support the society, like that's what it really took for him to get to that point, because he wasn't getting the sacraments from his own parish priest in the fraternity of St. Peter. Yeah. So I think he was only able to get the sacraments out of society priests. So I think, these things happen, right? So
for sure. And I think it's often presumptuous of us to believe that we don't deserve chastisement. I know I for sure do. So
dude, Enoch, this is a brilliant idea. Like, if Francis never became Pope, Taylor would still be
I like that.
The hermeneutic of continuity line, I think.
You know what's ironic? Never mind. I'm not gonna. I was gonna give a Lofton comment, but I'm not going to.
I don't think your podcast or my podcast would exist. I can't imagine that I would have started a podcast if everything was great in the church.
No way.
I'd probably be the most lukewarm. Maybe I'm still lukewarm. I don't know.
The podcast thing, I've always wanted to do broadcasting. Like, I've always thought.
Same. What got you into it? What got you into it? Who?
Honestly, listening to Opie and Anthony growing up.
I was a young guy. Rush
Limbaugh too. 100% Rush.
I idolized Rush, man.
I used to love talk radio, man. I loved it. And I always wanted to be like somebody that was able to do it. And those first the first year, well, no, less than that. Like the first 3-4 months before Rob joined, I was a nervous wreck, dude. Like, I would have to pre-record. I would edit things. It was so hard for me to to like get this thing out. Rob changed everything for me. Rob made it like where I was able to just have a natural conversation. I didn't have to pre-record. Like it really did. Having me and Rob teaming up together made this thing possible. I couldn't have done it without him. And
I always know you're buttering me up for something.
No, I just waiting for somebody to put a rainbow in
what new crazy thing do you want to do now?
Waiting for somebody to put a rainbow in the comment section.
I don't know if they can.
All right, so
let's see. I remember Paul Harvey for sure.
That was the big one. Let's see. Relief agencies labeled as lawbreakers by members of Congress for welcoming, feeding, and housing refugees. Our beloved elders near the end of life who are coaxing into feeling useless, a burden with euthanasia as the answer. Bro, we have been getting inundated by this end of life suicide in Canada, right? Like the MAID program, the medical assistance in death in Canada has been so horrific, and it's in the U.S. in certain states.
Their third highest cause of death in Canada right now.
It's crazy.
Having a doctor kill you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, like Canada, I think it's like the number
it's
two
like,
or
it's either
it's
like
or three.
Cancer. That's dangerous, man. People
cancer,
need to get
heart
out of
disease, and then medically assisted suicide.
There's a crazy there's a crazy story about this girl who transitioned to become a guy. The Canadian government paid for all of it, and then had had transition regret and wanted to transition back. The federal government wouldn't pay for it. They said, no, but we'll give you end of life suicide.
Right.
And this person, I forget which way they transitioned or whatever, but the person actually is taking them up on it, and they're gonna do the MAID program because the government paid for her or him to get the surgery and won't pay for them to reverse it because they have the transition regret.
Yeah, sometimes I have to feel like Mao and Stalin are in hell right now just doing this.
Yeah, right.
Like the slow clap when they stand, because I think we
look at each other like, did you ever think that was
yeah, they have got to be amazed at what we have accomplished here. They've got to be amazed.
Yeah, it's nuts. Let's see. Cops who face danger daily, who see their colleagues killed and wounded, their resources shrinking, and criminals they apprehended released in an hour. He's talking about the New York catch and release program. I mean, he's
Chicago,
in New York, so it's understandable.
Yeah.
But no, Mark, they overhauled the bail system in New York to the point where you get arrested and you are out within an hour. I don't care if it's a violent crime. I don't care what it is. It's one of the most heinous bills they've ever put forth in New York, man. It's crazy. And this Mayor Adams, who we just got after de Blasio, came in on this whole, I'm gonna get crime under control. He's been 10 times worse than anybody we've ever had. It's crazy.
I don't understand these people in Chicago who can't evict people who are trespassing. If somebody's trespassing in your home, the cops can't make them leave.
Yeah.
You can't even argue with it. It's so stupid.
We destroyed your life. We destroyed your culture. We won't fix it, but have you considered letting us destroy you too?
Yeah,
it really is. Remember when people talked about death boards with Obamacare and people said that doesn't exist with any other social medical system?
They were just 5 years too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So parents who worked 2 jobs and saved for decades to send their children to college and struggled to pay back the loans they had to take, only to see their neighbors with weekend homes have their loans forgiven. These good people tell us they are also marginalized and excluded. Rarely do I find them bitter, angry, or judgmental. They too want a society that is inclusive, not merely for the groups now chic to defend, but for all. Cardinal Dolan is the Catholic Archbishop of New York. I just thought what Mark was saying because Mark didn't even read that article, but he when he and I spoke first off, his wife was in the car and he had me on speaker and I'm talking about my wife, like how amazing she is. So he texts me later and goes, my wife thinks you're the most amazing.
Yeah, my wife thinks you're a very lovely man. And I was like, you son of a
I didn't know his wife was listening in. So so I told him, I said, yo, you should check out the article by Dolan. And that's when we started talking about he started feeling a little bit of hope, almost like there's there's this swelling of resistance amongst the bishops that might be coming down the pike, and I personally think you're going to get a Cardinal Syrah next. That's really what I think.
Look, it all boils down to courage. The problem in the modern world is that nobody has any courage anymore, or very few people have any courage anymore. But the thing about courage is it's contagious. If you see one person stand up, you'll get the courage to stand up too. And now there's two people standing up. And, I do feel like there's some hope, and I feel like something has changed. And we're not out of the fight, obviously, but I feel like at least we're finally in it.
You guys know how we got Pius X as Pope, right?
No, but something tells me you're going to tell me. I don't know.
Emperor Franz Joseph of Austria, the second to last Habsburg of Austria, heard who they had voted for and used the traditional Habsburg veto on the papal.
We're gonna cut our little conversation short. We have our guest. Okay, so Franklin, do you just have audio?
Yeah, just audio right now.
Okay. Franklin, I asked you to come on because we saw two of your tweet threads that I thought were amazing. Our last episode, we actually went over your tweet thread about fathers and daughters. And we did a whole segment on it. I thought it was pretty awesome. It led to some great conversation. So I figured I'd ask you to come on and just find out who you are.
Yeah, happy to come on. It was a good segment. I listened to it. So.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's great. What? So who are you? What do you do? Because you have a pretty big following on Twitter. Are you a writer? Are you a podcaster? What are you?
Yeah, I am a writer for the most part. I've done a children's book. I've gotten the goal is to publish some more books. That's one reason I'm on Twitter. But I just grew by talking what I tend to think about and think is important anyway, which is fatherhood, the culture, family, homeschooling, all that good stuff.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me too. Rob's got his 3rd on the way.
Nice.
So the
Mark's still trying.
You're not Catholic though, right, Franklin? But I know you're Christian, right? You're just not Catholic?
Yeah, I'm not Catholic.
Okay, we'll have to change that, but that's okay.
Yeah. Wow. Ecumenism 101, folks.
No, I thought the thread was so great, and I honestly thought it sounded like it just sounded very like it was very well thought out. These weren't just throwaway comments. These weren't just like cliche things you were saying. They were real things that I think that especially with the sons, like Rob had said specifically that like if he had heard his father say some of the things that you wrote in the thread to sons, that it might have had a real effect on him. And I know my dad wasn't great at communicating, even though I think he did feel that way about a lot of the things. He never really had a great way of communicating it.
I got a lot of DMs and messages from other guys saying the same thing. They're saying, "Man, I wish my dad had said this or that or whatever." I know Dad's perfect. Yeah. I don't think anyone's going to do this perfectly, but it's good to have something to aspire to.
Yeah, it's like Rob, do you have the thread?
I do. Yep.
Yeah, let's pull the thread up. Let's go through it and let's run through some of it. And I can't see it because Rob always puts everything up so tiny. So Rob, why don't you read?
Because you're old and you need glasses. That's why.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can read some of them, and Franklin, if you want to maybe give your thoughts on them after with them, or what made you, why you decided to put that in there, that'd be awesome.
All right.
Okay, so the first one is I'm proud of you. Saying this at the right moment can give a boy wings. Boys who never hear this from their father will always be seeking approval from the wrong people in the wrong places.
So, Franklin, what was your relationship with your dad like? Do you have a good relationship with your dad?
Yeah, it was good. I'd say he was He's overall a good dad.
Yeah.
It was a late in life divorce that sort of shattered some of that mystique, but I would say overall he was there, he was present. Yeah, so I'm still blessed to have
Yeah.
a dad in my
Something
life.
like divorce. How old were you when your parents got divorced?
Late 20s. I think I was 29. I think.
And was it still devastating at that age?
Yes. Yeah, it still completely shocks and rocks your world because it changes
Yeah.
everything.
It's a family being ripped apart. I
Mhm.
mean, it's like now. I mean, I come from a very, very close family, right? So I have 8 siblings. So I have 4 brothers, 4 sisters, no twins. My parents stayed together. And like the idea of my parents splitting up and ripping the family apart, like I couldn't even imagine what that's like to go through as a child. It's gotta, and I think people go one of 2 ways when they're brought up, and they either follow in their parents' footsteps or they see a mistake their parent made and they say, I'm never going to make that mistake.
That was definitely my experience. My parents got divorced, and most of my friends had divorced parents. So we were the children of the baby boomers. So our parents were the first ones to really just get divorced in massive numbers. And I'll tell you, our generationally, the data is that our divorce rate is still high, but it is not as high as our parents was. That was definitely the effect that had on me for sure.
Yeah, it's like, and I think we really do have to be. So Samantha says, my dad's been married 3 times. Said never doing that. It's like you really do have to, like. So look, my parents were amazing, but there are some things my dad did that I had to, like. You make vows to yourself, and you say like, I will never do this, right? So, my dad always talked to me, but never asked me about me, and it's like it's very hard to not fall into that pattern with your own kids. And like reading this thread really made me see some of my own maybe like shortcomings, and it's like I'm not even kidding. After reading this thread, I sat down. My son was down here watching TV, and I came and I sat down next to him and I started talking to him. I just told him how proud I was of him. Like sometimes we need that little bit of a reminder so you don't fall into those same habits.
Your son's like, Dad, why does it sound like you're going down a list?
No, you know what I said to him? I go, Nick, I said, Nick, a lot of times parents are just trying to make it so that like that you don't, we're just trying to put on this facade like we have it all together, but we're just as messy as anybody else, and a lot of it is just trying to make sure their kids think that they have it all together, but we really don't a lot. And
that was a question. Franklin, you said that when your parents got divorced, that you lost some of that mystique that your father had in your life. Do you think fathers should? Is that something you think fathers should try to cultivate, a sort of like a mystique, or should we just be like brutally honest with our kids about our failings and who we are?
Yeah, that might not have been the best word. I think we should be honest about failings, but it's, for me, that came as a complete shock because there were no warning signs. There was nothing. It was just 1 minute, everything's fine. At least my sister and I thought, and then the next minute, everything is terrible. So that flip was drastic. But I think in terms of not necessarily a mystique, but a gravitas, a respectability that isn't perfect, but
you would still want to go to it's like you see your father as a fallen creature for the first time, maybe.
Yeah,
and
it's still you still want to go to him for advice, and because he's been through it, and not because he's perfect.
Okay. Now the thing is, if you're saying it came out of nowhere, I would assume that means your parents did keep the arguments not in front of the kids then.
Yeah, and I don't think they necessarily even had any problems until, because we were far gone from the house and all that stuff. So we weren't around anyway for years. But
yeah, late 20s. Yeah, that's
yeah.
like, but it's like to if to grow up in a house where the parents are at each other's throats every single day, that's a horrible way to come up.
Yeah.
Also, it's not an easy upbringing for a kid to watch his parents going at it over every little thing. So
yeah.
Yeah, but the "I'm proud of you" thing really, really hit me. So I made sure I said that to my son. Get back up. A father must. I'm sorry, Rob. My eyes are terrible. Go ahead.
Get back up. A father must let his son fail, but be there to encourage him to get back up and try again.
Yes.
Especially if his son doesn't want to get back up.
Yeah. The part about letting your son fail is profound. So, my dad, I have a brother. He has from another mother, but he literally is a brother from another mother. But he never can fail. He'll get to the verge and then dad bails him out. And I just think, man, he's not doing this kid. You do have to let him learn a lesson, and preferably as they're kids, because the problem with life is as you get older, the lessons get harder. The consequences get more profound. It's a lot easier to do 5 minutes of time out when you're 3 years old than it is to do 25 to life at 30,
The next one really is important, man. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Every father messes up. Every father gets impatient. Every father has moments of weakness. Every father fails. So it's like to for your kids to see you admit that you screwed up and not just try to play it off. But I'll tell you, man, like it's teaching them that lesson of owning up to your mistakes too. It's not just to let them know that you're sorry, it's to show them that when you screw up, this is how you handle it. You admit your faults. And it's like I know you're not Catholic, frankly, but like for us, especially as Catholics, like the sacrament of penance, to go in and really just confess your sins to another person, like it says in James, confess your sins to one another. Like there's something different about saying something to God alone and saying, God forgive me, and actually verbalizing it out loud to another person that makes you really see the impact and the gravity of maybe your mistakes. And I think it's good that your kids see that you're willing to do that in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it points to the fact that there's a standard higher than you. You're not this tyrant making up arbitrary rules. You're an authority under a higher authority.
Oh, what a great point.
That is a good point.
And so these aren't just necessary. There might be house rules that only your household, like don't jump on the couch, don't put your feet on the couch, whatever. But there are some rules that transcend even your authority.
You're bringing up something so important, because our rulers are supposed. So it was always like with Christ the King, right? It was always like our rulers were also subject to Christ the King. And this whole idea of religion being removed from secular actions has gotten to the point where, I mean, they now are trying to put these weird, twisted ideologies into our mix, all because none of our rulers think they are subject to Christ the King anymore. And it's like you were just saying, like, I am subject to a higher authority, even like for in the role of my children.
Well, he's subject to Christ the King in his private life, Anthony. So that's what you got to understand. It's different when I'm at home. So
I'm disappointed by your actions. A father must let his son know when he has fallen short, and he must be clear about why. A father disciplines those he loves. So we were just actually talking about this right before you came on, because we have a pope that we're not crazy about, but
right.
but because we have a pope we're not crazy about, it's almost like a chastisement from God that's making us take our faith a little bit more seriously. And that's kind of how God deals with things with us, right? So like if you're somebody who goes and if you're a husband or you have a girlfriend and you go and cheat on them, maybe something bad happens when you go and do that. Like, these are things that God allows in our lives to get us to get our act together. It really, that's in Romans, where at first God disciplines you. So when God's wrath is not real. Like, all right, so God's mercy is when he disciplines you because he wants you to come back. God's wrath is when he says, yeah, that's what you want, go ahead and do it. I'm not even going to give you any consequences anymore. And he gives you what you want instead of what you need.
Yeah, discipline is for children and sons. And so when God disciplines us, he's treating us as his children because he doesn't want to lose that relationship. So he wants us to turn back. That's the whole point. And it can be painful, but
now, how have you always had faith in God, Franklin, or is this?
I mean, as far as I can, as long as I can remember. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what a great gift. To never have to, like, you know, some people have to go through a crazy upbringing before they have that conversion experience, you know?
Yeah. It's definitely a blessing.
Yeah. Okay. I love you. Say it so often that he is drowning in the words. Couple this with plenty of hugs and physical affection. A father cannot assume his son knows this truth unless he speaks it out loud constantly. I can't tell you. Like, so there's somebody that I listened to for a long time that he actually wound up getting into. We were actually just speaking about him before you came on. His name is Joseph Chiambra, who wound up had such a bad relationship with his father that it wound up leading him into a gay lifestyle.
And it let him be groomed by a man who said he loved him.
Because he didn't understand affection, true affection.
Right. So the father wound was so deep in him. And now he's trying to live a chaste life. And he's living a chaste life and not falling into this disordered passion he has. But one of the things he talks about is, you know, even it's not just your daughters that you have to say I love you to, it's your sons, and you have to make sure you do hug your sons and let them feel the love of the father and real affection from a father, because if you don't, it really can lead to one of those wounds that, so you're not necessarily going to go down that road, but there are other things that, you know, kids get into drugs, they get into a lot of things.
Yeah, and in this culture that celebrates it, it's more likely to happen because they're going to be edged that way.
They'll be proud for it.
They'll be applauded for it, and that confusion is much more likely to be solidified. So it wasn't as much of a danger in cultures that don't promote that type of thing, but nowadays it's
a ton of stuff about the Irish just started making sense. I got to tell you, because like fathers and physical affection, and trust me, the last thing in the world you want as an Irish kid is for your dad to get physical, because that means something very different. So a ton of stuff about our culture just started making sense.
Yeah, I mean, even that's not just unique to the Irish, though, Mark. It's a lot to do with that generation. Mm-hmm. Like that generation was just quick with the hands, man. It's like, I understand, you know, disciplining your kid, but there was a level of abuse that went on in times past that some of the stuff we're talking about, you'll notice nowhere is Franklin saying to hit your child. You know, like these are all ways to reinforce your child and to build your child up. Nowhere is he saying beat your kid, you know, and it's that can be traumatizing for a kid too. So, but the world is not fair. The world owes you nothing. A father must teach his son not to expect handouts. Oh, I missed one. Oh, you are my son. A father must lay claim to his son and let the boy know he has a place where he belongs. Many boys feel like they belong nowhere, and so they wander and look for alternatives outside the home. That was me.
Every criminal client I have, they all had the exact same.
Yeah, I remember I actually when I was 15, I ran away, and I was staying at a friend's house, and I was there for months, and my parents didn't come and get me. And I remember thinking, like, why aren't they coming and getting me and punishing me? And it was because they had so many little kids in the house and they were so busy, and I was such a problem at home that they were just like trying to show me tough love at the time. But I remember wanting to be in trouble, and I wasn't in trouble, and they kind of let that go on for a little while, and it really messed me up. That next one, the world is not fair. The world owes you nothing. A father must teach his son not to expect handouts and to avoid seeking easy wealth. Life is supposed to be hard, not wanting. Like that is so countercultural to the victim narrative that the culture tells everybody.
Yep.
Right.
When did it stop? Because I remember being raised like that. And then like the very next generation that the baby boomers raised, they started coddling them or something. I don't know. It's just very strange that.
There's
like my
that
generation
shift
heard
in one generation is so bizarre.
We heard all about, how you could be whatever you wanted to be, but which is somewhat true, right? Depending on the work you put in. But how often do we hear about, hear the second part, where you can be whatever you want to be as long as you put a ton of work into it. Yeah. But we got participation trophies for everything. No one kept score during like sports and gym class. All this BS that
so
you never were allowed to lose.
I might be a little bit older than you guys because we were definitely keeping score in gym class and stuff like that.
Yeah, we are a little bit older than Rob. But the thing is, this actually goes to the generation talk by Father Ripperger, where he says, so like the great, the greatest generation, the guys who were in World War II, saw so much suffering that when they came home from the war, they wanted to make sure their children never saw that suffering. So they did not discipline their children, and it led to the baby boomers and the hippies, and they were just doing whatever they wanted because their parents saw such horrible things that they wanted to shelter their children from any kind of suffering. And suffering
they themselves weren't taught the value of suffering by their parents, who were the silent generation and had that problem with communication.
Sure. Well, it's definitely a problem.
The next one, respect your mother. A son will eventually outgrow his mother in strength. Before that happens, he must learn to treat her words as a precious garland. For this to work, a father must add his own strength to back up his mother's words. So not just that, like I told my son, the difference between a boy and a man is a boy fights with his mother, a man protects his mother. So whenever I would see him answering her back and arguing with her, I would say, listen to me. You're not, you're 17 now. You're not a boy anymore. This whole fighting with mom thing, that's got to stop. And now comes the time where you look out and protect your mother and keep her safe. Like that's the difference in a boy and a man. A boy drives his mom nuts, and a man takes care of her.
Yeah. Well said.
Eventually, a son. Women tend to live longer. That's just a fact. And eventually, that son is going to have to protect his elderly mother when his father is either too old to do so or is gone from this world.
Son, behold thy mother.
Yeah. Stand with your brothers and sisters. They will be there when the father is gone. They're collectively the legacy the father leaves behind.
I'm sorry. I before you go to brothers and sisters, can I ask one more question about number 8 to Franklin? Sure. And the Protestant tradition, obviously Mary doesn't play as big of a role as she does in the Catholic tradition, but does this number 8 here, how does this in the Protestant or denominations that you encounter, does this cause one to reflect at all on Mary's role in the family? Is that a part of y'all's faith tradition? I'm just curious, actually.
Not really. This is inspired by Proverbs, and so just some of the wisdom in Proverbs.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the commandment, right? Honor thy mother and father.
And
Sure.
Flows,
yeah, definitely.
Which the Proverbs obviously flow from. So.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm sorry. I meant to ask that question and then we skipped it. Sorry.
I mean, we didn't
skip it, but
we don't hate Mary. I mean,
right? No, obviously, yeah. I would never accuse you that.
Look, there's also a tendency to like mischaracterize what others believe, especially when you're talking between Catholic Protestant dialogue, and it's right. To mischaracterize. Listen, there probably are some versions of Christianity where they do, speak down upon Mary. And then there's some Protestants who think Catholics worship Mary. We absolutely do not worship Mary in any way whatsoever. We just honor her and love her as Jesus did. That's all. But so stand with your brothers and sisters. They will be there when the father is gone. They are collectively the legacy the father leaves behind. A father must teach that a boy's siblings are on the same team. Their successors are his successes. Their successes are his successes.
As someone with two, younger boys and a daughter coming along, Franklin, I don't know how old your kids are, but Anthony, I know your kids are older. How do we do this in a concrete sense? How do we get the fighting to stop, and how do we get them to realize they're on the same team?
I'll let you go first, Franklin.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Part of it, I think, is a shared culture to start with in the family, shared memories, and more collective wins together. I think reading out loud the same stories, watching the same things together, all that stuff can to form that bond. Same activities where they're not necessarily competing together, although competition's important too, and graceful losing. But
so the competition thing, I would say, like, competition, of course, is important, but not in competition for your attention and your love. Mm-hmm. So we've actually spoken about this on the show before. Like my upbringing was especially amongst my siblings. Like, I am so close with my siblings that the idea of being in any kind of competition with them, like if my older brother was on the show Survivor, right? He came in second place. There was never a time where we weren't like, we wanted him to win that $1 million and come in first. It was like, we would have been so happy for him. Where I know siblings that, because of the way they were raised in competition for their parents' love, that they actually are jealous of one another. And it's a dynamic that a parent plays a very significant role in. Never put your children in competition for your affection and your love, I would say.
Yeah, no comparison. Say, why can't you be like so and so?
Oh man, that is
instead of just, you could praise that kid, right, for doing something, and they'll know that you praised them, and they'll pay attention to that. But never direct comparison like that.
But you're 100% right. Because if you say to one of your kids, why can't you be more like whatever, like, you can't imagine the complex your child will develop from that. Okay, so you're responsible for your actions, no one else. No blaming others, no pretending to be the victim, no blaming his emotions. A father must let his son experience the consequences of his actions, though the father can help him face those consequences like a man. That is so great.
I think this is one, especially in our day and age, and it's not even so much with the victim mentality, but with the emotions. Where everything is so about emotions. Like even like TV today, that's not acting so much as it is like emoting. All kid shows do is teach kids to act out, right? To be emotional. And I'm not saying like dad should kill, any semblance of emotion in their sons. I think that was a problem that happened with previous generations, but I think we do have to teach our sons, like, there needs to be a limit to your emotions. You do have to put a break on them, especially with emotions like anger, wrath, things like that. That the things that men are prone to.
Yeah, for sure. Follow me. A father must be the first to take the hill. He must be the example. A son will not attempt hard things unless his father is attempting hard things. A father must be a man his son can follow. This is the challenge to every Christian man in the world, right? To be the Christ figure in his child's life. It's incredibly difficult.
Yep, it's constantly denying yourself, and if you don't take up the cross, why would you expect any of your children to do so?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
team. I got to jump off. Franklin, it was great. It was great talking to you, brother. God bless you guys.
Too. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
So it's like the having Christ as the role model for us and trying to really set that example and be the Christ figure in your child's life is really huge. So, all right, sometimes losing a battle is worth fighting because it's the right thing to do. A father must avoid pure pragmatism. He must teach his son that courage is its own reward and virtue is never a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I got to tell you, frankly, this was such a great thread, and it really did make me think a lot about my own parenting and maybe some of the things I was forgetting to do. Not that I ever didn't think these things were important, but just some of the things that kind of you let the mundane, mundane things of life get in the way, and you forget to actually sit and focus on your children and make sure you're saying some of these things and doing some of these things. I was really, really grateful to read it, and I'm really grateful that you wrote it.
No, thank you. And I appreciate the thought. That's exactly what I was hoping would happen. And most of my stuff that I write, one, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm thinking, what do I need to do better? And two, it's not really original anyway, because I have a lot of influences. And so it's sort of just regurgitated out of my mind.
A lot of this is, look, so when we say God created us in his image, that image is the family, right? It's Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So it's before God creates anything, before he creates the universe, before he says, let there be light, what is God? God is a family. He is a father and a son in an exchange of love. And when he creates us in his image, that image is the family. So the kind of father we are is literally what's going to be how we are judged on our lives. Like you are created in God's image, and that image is a father. And, obviously for women, it's, the mother as well. But the role that we have as men to be good fathers is such a huge task, and we are called to live as Christ does. And it's a heavy burden that all of us have taken on. And I just, all of us should take it humbly on our knees.
Yeah, it's one of those things. God shares his name with us, the Father, right? Which in one case should make us stand tall, but should also scare the crap out of us of how much responsibility he has put on our shoulders. And so, yeah, for sure, we need to take it more seriously.
Franklin, I'm going to tell you, if you have any book you want to promote, you can promote that. But if you do get that next book written and you want to come on and promote it, man, we would love to have you back on.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Where can people go to see your work now? I mean, I think I have your link up on screen here, but
yeah, so I have the Twitter account, obviously, Foundation Dads, but you can go to foundationfather.com. That's a Substack. I send out one every week, and then also mafranklin.com, which is more of the author Substack, a little more varied topics. So.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. What time zone are you in anyway?
I'm Eastern.
Oh, good. I thought you were in like England or something when you were asking. No. What state do you live in?
I'm in Kentucky.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, my cousin's over in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, if you have anything to promote, just shoot me a DM and we'll get you back on.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good night.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how somebody from a Protestant background is going to react to some of the things we say. It's like, I mean, obviously, I asked him to come on, so I'm not going to come on and tell him. I made the joke in the beginning, obviously, like, oh, we're going to make you Catholic, but
no, and all of those 12 points there, both in the one for sons and daughters.
They're very Catholic.
They I mean, they come right from Catholic tradition.
That's
Catholic
why
teaching.
I thought he was Catholic originally. I'm not even kidding. Like, they sounded very Catholic, right? Like they sounded like these were from Catholic tradition. Like these are actual like philosophical teachings about fatherhood. It just seemed like something that could have.
And I think it's a good reminder that that obviously while we want everyone to be Catholic and such, we can still have allies in the fight for certain things that aren't Catholic, right? Like whether it's being a good dad or fighting against, the whole trans thing.
Yeah.
It's not just Catholics fighting against that stuff.
Like everybody's saying, Franklin, become Catholic. now, listen, I know a lot of the people in the chat aren't parents, right? But I mean, it was good to even just think about our own upbringing during that. I think that's probably why Mark popped off, but it's like, it's like you could even look at your own upbringing and see some of the things that you had going on that maybe, I mean, dude, I'm telling you, like that incident where my parents didn't come and get me when I ran away really like messed me up, man. It was like a kid actually wants to be punished when they do something wrong. They don't want to get away with it. They may be pissed off when they get grounded and everything, but they really don't want to get away with it.
Because if they get away with it, they recognize the world then as being unjust. You know, they recognize it as being broken, and that causes a sense of insecurity. Sure, when you get punished, like it sucks.
Yeah,
but you realize there are boundaries then, and you can feel,
and that you're loved.
You can feel safe in those boundaries.
Yeah, yeah, Miss Samantha, I have seen him. He's the black guy, right? He's what's his name?
Father Calvin Robinson.
Calvin, something like that. Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah. No, I thought that was pretty interesting. So, do you want to get into some of the videos we got?
I was going to say, is it about to go off the rails?
Let's get it off the rails.
Because we've been pretty on the rails so far.
Well, Mark came on, and you know, we wanted to keep it somewhat. And you want to know something? Man? Like,
meanwhile, Jason's texting us, "Hey, do you guys want me to come on? Hey guys, can I come on?"
Oh, did he? He texted.
You didn't see me? Yeah, he did.
Oh, I didn't see that. I would have told him to come on. All right. So listen, this actually, look, I have this, I sent Rob this clip of a documentary about a woman who gets the stigmata. It's from a show back in the 90s, but it's an 8-minute clip and there's actual video of this woman getting the stigmata. Do you guys want us to play that, or do you want me to show you guys video? Because I didn't really send Rob crazy stuff tonight because I knew we had a lot of stuff to talk about.
Oh, there's a couple crazy things.
I got one or two, but one I posted as a short earlier, so I'm pretty sure most people saw that.
I didn't see that. I saw the title and I'm like, nope, not watching it.
All right, play it. Let's go. But if you guys want us to play the clip of the woman getting the stigmata, because it was a really good, I mean, it's pretty powerful. This woman gets the stigmata on camera. It's with a reporter who was not Catholic. He sits there, he sees her get it, and then the next day he goes back and all her wounds are completely healed. Do the short, man. All right, let's play the short first, and then we'll do the stigmata. All right, we'll do the short, and then we'll do the stigmata, because the short's only a minute. So,
and then we have the rodeo guy.
Yeah, that's I thought we would play that after the woman singing.
Oh,
it was like that would have been perfect to go right from that to the woman singing. But all right, let's play this one. This one just made me laugh.
31-year-old Dwayne Townsend is charged with indecent exposure and disorderly conduct on several occasions dating back to November of 2018.
And you see, that's what the problem is. Now, it's a beautiful day. I want to come outside with my shirt off.
I love the bowler hat.
And I was just jogging, trying to get my body back in shape. And all of a sudden, I get hit stick like I'm on Madden, just boom, out of nowhere by a cop. And it, it scared the hell out of me. I was so scared, y'all, I didn't on myself. And I'm talking about I was wet. I was wetter than a whale in a bubble bath drinking a bottle of water.
What?
I was wetter than
a whale in a bubble bath drinking a bottle of water.
Okay, and to myself, I said, indecent exposure? Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. What you want me to do? I'm a man. You want me to put on a bra? Man, that bra strap will snap like a bungee cord. Just go. And, I just came out of court, and they just gave me 2 court dates. One for each titty.
Fantastic response.
Dude, this guy got indecent exposure. He wasn't naked. He just was. He had no shirt on, and he got indecent exposure. That's crazy. That poor guy. I'm on his side, man.
I mean, to be fair, something doesn't have to be sexual for it to be indecent.
That's true. Brick said, "Where do I find these videos?" Honestly, Brick, I follow some funny accounts on Twitter, man. All right, so now listen, anybody who if you guys saw John Henry Weston on Life Size Chat, I'm so bad with the hands tonight. Talking with my hands only. John Henry Weston interviewed Ron Tosserero, I think his name. He's an Australian guy. I didn't watch the interview. I just saw that he interviewed him, and that's what reminded me of.
So what's he sound like then, Anthony?
Good day, mate. I know, John Henry Weston. Anyway, so yeah, the bungee noise. All right, so John Henry Weston interviews this guy, and his interview, I didn't watch it, but it reminded me of the documentary I saw, because what happened is this guy Ron Tossario or whatever his name is, him and this news anchor back in the 90s, it was coming up on it was the year 1989. It was coming up on the year Y2K was coming. Everybody was talking about the end of the world, and all around the world, back then you started seeing all these statues bleeding. There were a lot of miracles back then. Like my mom, this is back when my parents went to Medjugorje. My mom was storing.
It's also about the same time eBay came out and the stuff started to appear on eBay. So I don't know if there's a correlation there.
So you're talking. My mom was stacking cans of food in the basement, thinking Y2K was going to be the end of the world, because all these apparitions are happening all over the world. You're starting to see statues bleeding. Yep. There's weeping statues.
Did she stock on Chef Boyardee too, or is that like anathema to Italians?
I literally still like Chef Boyardee. I like SpaghettiOs too. You gotta eat gutta sometimes, man. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, so this guy goes around investigating miracles. Now he goes around and investigates like 10 different miracles. 5 of them are nonsense, but 5 of them are legit. They're statues bleeding. One of them's a bleeding host, right? It's a Eucharistic miracle. Now, when the guy goes and does DNA testing on all this stuff, don't ever lecture anyone on food taste again. Listen, I grew up poor, bro. We got 8 siblings. You think my mom made a 3-course meal every night or something? Stop it. Sometimes you had Chef Boyardee. So so 5 of them were legit. They were bleeding statues, and when they did the blood samples on them, they all came back the same way. They come back with no DNA
AB
profile,
blood.
AB blood. It's like they all come back the same. But this woman getting the stigmata was definitely the highlight of the show. And I cut it down to about. I have the full hour-long show.
You sent me an 8-minute clip.
I sent you an 8-minute clip of just the woman getting the stigmata, and it's so old I don't think we'll get any copyright issues on it. So I figured it'd be good to play.
So we're gonna play all 8 minutes. Or at least
we'll play it, and we'll stop it, and we'll talk in between, and we'll get
this is it, right?
Yes.
This one? Okay.
On the night before, that Thursday night. It is Thursday morning, and Cartier has agreed to let us take blood samples.
Yeah. Squeeze your finger back there a little bit.
Yeah, if she does have the predicted stigmata tomorrow, then we'll also take blood from those wounds for comparisons.
Do you need more? A little bit more.
Cartier believes the blood from the stigmata may not be exclusively hers.
When you have these wounds, who do the wounds belong to?
Jesus. Jesus.
That evening, when we return to Cartier's house, she appears to be happy and well. But soon she becomes distracted and introspective.
She's beginning to get the anguish.
Even if I am with many people, I feel lonely and abandoned. Like I am not understood by many people.
What's with 90s stuff and like crappy background music that really just distracts you?
Terrible background music, and just look at how much video has advanced. Like really the quality of the video since 99. It's crazy.
I was gonna say, like, this is what everything used to look like when I was a kid, but yet I don't remember it being this bad.
You thought this was high def.
Yeah.
Like this was like this was perfect. You never thought anything of it.
Okay, let's continue.
I feel weak, like I cannot do anything.
Tell that person. Thank you. Yeah. She's probably very quiet, Cartier.
She's crying. Cartier has quietly left us. We find her alone in her prayer room.
Unirte amorosamente a mis dolorosas llagas, orar en silencio, escuchar el silencio, dejar que como viento mi espíritu respire por todo.
We should have Mark on to translate. He left too early.
Yeah.
Los recodos de tu alma. Es una maravilla.
¿Eso te ha salido?
El libro que he abierto.
Santificados. Creo que he hecho el grupo para la paz es un...
I start crying for any reason. As the hours go by, it is such an anxiety that I cannot be at ease anywhere. The pain comes and
I probably could have
goes,
cut this first
and I
few
start
minutes out, but I
praying.
wanted you guys to see.
Then there was a very deep sadness.
I wanted everybody to see like the build up to it, and especially the reporter. But yeah, go ahead. Play it. You'll see when she starts laying down.
We still don't know if Cartier will have the stigmata tomorrow, but what she says she is feeling now is the emotional suffering which always comes first. It is, she says, the worst time. It seems to us there is little doubt.
So she like has her own little agony in the garden before her own passion.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah, so it starts. I think at like 9 in the morning it starts, or like 10 in the morning, and at 12 o'clock she starts actually getting the stigmata, and it lasts for 3 hours until 3 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
That what she is feeling now is real and profound.
Now, no doubt, Michael, it seems very moving and very disturbing. But again, there are viewers out there who'll say, she's faking it, it's psychosomatic. How confident were you being there that you would actually go through the physical stigmata the following day?
I wasn't confident. I did have a feeling that it would happen the next day. But the question of whether it's psychosomatic is a very relevant point. There are doctors, psychiatrists, even priests who believe the external signs of the stigmata can be psychosomatic. So if Cartier was somehow mentally self-inducing all this, then her distress that night could not be seen as conclusive proof of the stigmata to come. We had to wait for the Friday. Jesus is said to have started to carry the cross at midday and died at 3 p.m. So those were the hours we were watching for.
You can leave it playing while I talk, but this wasn't just like, it was also a prophecy, because she told him the day to come. She said, "This is the day I'm going to get it. Come this day."
I check Cartier for any visible signs, but there is nothing.
So these are scars from previous stigmata. There's nothing fresh.
As the minutes pass, her pain appears to intensify. Is the stigmata really about to show itself?
I think it's yearly. I think every Good Friday.
Cartier's spiritual advisor, Father Renzo Cecilo, is by Cartier's side. He notices that her forehead has begun to bleed from tiny wounds, which would be consistent with the crown of thorns.
She feels it's burning.
Can I see Cartier? Excuse me. It's 12:15. The first mark of the stigmata on the hand is now appearing.
A tiny cross has appeared on Cartier's hand.
Descendió a los infiernos y al tercer día resucitó del muerto. Subió a los cielos y está sentado en la tentación y vino a los hermanos.
What did you say about Padre Pio?
Like Padre Pio just had it for years. Like hers, she goes through it every Corpus Christi, I think. Every feast of Corpus Christi.
As carefully as I can, I take the samples we need for our blood tests.
I must stay away from the wound. She has come through very dramatically and very quickly now. Just one more cut here. Thank you, Cartier.
We've been with Cartier for more than an hour, and her wounds have continued to deepen. She is bruised and grazed below her left eye. Are these the wounds of Christ?
That's where they struck Jesus with the reed.
Relax your hand there. I'm sorry, Cartier.
No.
Es mi pulmón.
Cartier appears to be in great pain. For those of us present, it feels very real and very disturbing. Friends who have come to pray with Cartier gently wrap her bleeding hands with bandages.
Ay, llenándose de agua.
Sus pulmones se están llenando de agua.
Yes, I will. I'll send it to you. I'll give it to Rob. Actually, let me see.
Lungs are filling up with liquid.
It is now 2:45. If you believe that Cartier is suffering as Christ did on the cross, then she is now reaching the final stages of the crucifixion and approaching death from prolonged torture. Cartier's daughter, Tatiana, has arrived to help her mother. It is heartbreaking and frightening. Her mother's pain is affecting everyone in the room.
Jesus.
All right. So what I did was I sent you the link to part 1. So Rob's going to put the link to part 1 up. It's a 10-part, it's 10 different clips. I gave Rob part 1. What you do is when you click on part 1, go to this person's channel and they have the playlist. It's a 10-part series, the entire documentary. Now the documentary, they go to do all the statues that are bleeding. It's like several miracles that they go and they inspect. Now a few of them are fake, like there's one or two that are like flowers or something and it winds up being nonsense, but the statues bleeding and the Eucharistic miracle, those are all real. And so John Henry Weston interviewed the guy Ron Tesario. That guy actually went and did the first video I ever saw, like the first Eucharistic miracle video I ever saw was by that guy. And it's really well done. And he actually goes and they do the Eucharistic miracle that was in Buenos Aires while Cardinal Bergoglio was there, who actually didn't want it to be tested. And they had to fight to get it tested. So Jorge Bergoglio did not want it to be tested. So Rob put the link up. You guys can go watch part 1 and then just click on it. It may even just show up part 2 after that, part 3 after that. But if you guys click on that, I'll have Rob try and put it in the show notes for anybody watching this video at a later date. It's a great documentary. And it's old, but it was one of the videos that led to my conversion. It was like not led to it, but like it was right after I converted, and I was really excited and looking up for miracles and things like that. And it's a really well done hour-long news program that they did. So you'll have to go and check it out. I think it was just her blood. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it was Jesus's blood, but the blood from the statues and the Eucharistic miracle were both type AB and had no DNA profile, which is always the case in every Eucharistic miracle, because if we ever were able to get a DNA profile from Jesus, these lunatics would try and clone him. You think I'm kidding? These lunatics would try and clone him, and that would wind up being the Antichrist or something. Like, you got to be. That's why I believe that's why you never get a DNA profile from any of the blood samples from any of the Eucharistic miracles.
What next?
Well, we got a boogie because I do 15 minutes left, but let's see, what do we got? Oh, let's do the Tiger Woods story. Did you read this?
No.
Oh,
I
this
couldn't
is
care less
great.
about Tiger Woods.
No, this is great, dude. This Tiger Woods story is amazing. Tiger Woods says he put Erica Herman up in a luxury hotel and gave her money for a new place to live after they broke up. So here's what happens. Tiger Woods tells his girlfriend, "We're going on vacation. Pack your bags." He takes her to a hotel. She goes in the room and he runs out and goes home, changes the locks on the doors, and takes all of her stuff out because he knew that it was going to be a problem. So Tiger Woods says he went out of his way to put his ex-girlfriend Erica Herman up in a luxury resort after the pair broke up last year and provided funds she could apply towards a new residence, according to the court filing. Shortly after the pair broke up in October, Herman sued the trust that owns the home they lived in together. She said in court filings that she was kicked out of the home without notice, violating an oral agreement that she live in the home rent-free. In court filings Wednesday, her lawyer said the golfer and his two children are the only. Woods' lawyer said the golfer and his two children are the only potential beneficiaries of the trust who owns the home. So she's suing him for $30 million. She was not married to her. She was just his girlfriend. So Herman filed a lawsuit against the Jupiter Island Irrevocable Trust for $30 million in damages shortly after Woods broke up with her in October. Herman, who also worked as a manager for Woods, said that she was forced to move out of Woods' home through trickery. Herman said she was told to pack her bags for a short vacation, but when she left the home, she was notified that she had been locked out of the residence where she lived with Woods for 6 years. Herman said the defendants attempted to justify their illegal conduct by paying for a hotel room and certain expenses for a short period of time. She claims in the suit that by kicking her out of the home, the trust violated an oral agreement that allowed her to live rent-free in the home in exchange for performing valuable services. Well, she doesn't detail the services she ended up.
Of course not.
Said she was held up. She held up her end of the bargain. Dude, this poor guy is such a not poor guy. He's such a degenerate. I mean, you think about how his marriage ended. Do you remember how his marriage ended?
High on some sort of drug, racing in a car, crashing, right?
Yes. So he took Ambien, drove his car, crashed it, and then all of a sudden, all these stories started coming out about all the porn stars and women that he cheated on his wife with. And his career was basically ruined for a long period of time. This Paul says Tiger for the win. Yeah, pack your bags, we're going on vacation, honey. She leaves the house, the locks are changed, all that stuff's on the street. Adrian says that's what all parents should do with their children who want to move out of their home. Oh man, yeah. Oh, Molly, you're still here. I thought you bailed on us. He really is disgusting. I mean, he had such a disgusting sex addiction that it wound up all just coming back to haunt him. He lost his wife. His children probably hate his guts. But yeah, I just thought that one was a funny story. Let's see what else we got. I think most of the other stuff is just my vacation, dude.
Hold on. This is fun. I like this.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
It is great. Just the audio.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
Molly said she came back to watch some of the replay because I was interested in your guest, but you're still talking.
It's only an hour and a half into this, guys. This is a short show.
I love how mean everyone is to us. Wait, what's this? I think you sent one.
Do you
Fat woman,
Jeff?
bad driver, fodder for stream tonight. Put that one on.
No, that's 10 minutes long.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Did we miss any? The
Not
Walmart
videos.
bad kid. Want to do the Walmart bad kid?
Hold on a second. Let me find that one. Walmart bad kid.
Oh, the vegetarian dog. I got 10 minutes, so let's go vegetarian dog, dude. Just scroll up, you'll see it.
I see it. Yeah, we didn't get to this one last week.
We didn't get to these last time, so that's good that we got a bunch. Look at this woman.
From the haircut and the nails, this is going to be just garbage.
Wait, Jeff, you're actually having lunch with Cardinal Dolan Saturday? Where?
Why? You are not gonna go and bust into their
Jeff.
lunch.
Jeff, I'll come crash that lunch. I'll treat you guys. I'll take you guys out to lunch. All right, let's play this one.
Hey, I know Cardinal Dolan just had a base article and everything, but come on, he still probably is out of your price range.
I want the interview.
I know you do.
I want the interview with Cardinal Dolan, dude. What's Dunwoody? It's not in New York, I'm guessing.
Anyways, let's play this.
Well, some of you just don't believe that my dog's a vegetarian, so I have this set up right now for you guys to see. We have this really gross, it's like a
Caitlin, you're thinking Tobin.
like dog food. And then I have this delicious green salad. So I'm going to bring her out and we're going to see which one she
I'm not gonna lie, I would choose the dog food even.
likes. Also, my dog is very healthy. She loves greens. She loves her salad. And I don't force her to eat her salad. It's what she likes. Come here. Come here. Okay. Okay, so this is Bonnie. She is my little vegetarian. Okay? Now, no.
Yeah, no.
Here, pick one.
And she moves the camera. No. You're ruining the whole thing. What are you doing? I always wonder, like, where these, how these videos get out, right? Like, is it, you think that's staged? Like, because why would she release the video?
Right. I mean, it could be someone making fun, kind of like making, satire of people.
Yeah. I always wonder
are
if things like that are
legitimately like
real,
that.
because it's like, why would you, if you really did want to prove they were vegetarian, the dog chooses salad, everybody's like, Brick said he's going roof.
Yeah, I think the video is purposefully meant to prove.
Well, it's what they say. Like anybody, they say it's like people who have trans kids. It's the same thing as like people who have vegan cats. We know who's making the cat vegan. You know who's making the kid trans. Ironically, this is what parents are doing to their kid. Yeah, literally what I just said. So,
or as Paul says, there's someone very based at the NSA who releases all of them.
It's definitely still funny though.
Yeah.
Play the other one, because the bad kid in the store. This is like, I would knock, if this was my kid, I'd knock their head off their shoulders. Like, I know we were just talking about peaceful parenting.
That's exactly what my grandma used to say, except she always threw GD in there.
Yeah,
I'll knock your GD heads off your shoulders.
I'll tell you, man, I've never, ever, like, it was always so ingrained in me not to take the Lord's name in vain that, like, I think maybe twice in my life I've done it. And like, it was because I was so fuming mad that I just wanted to prove my point. Like, and it was like, but like, it's such an easy commandment to not break. It's like, why would you break it? It's like,
all I'll say is my grandma uses the alternative name for Brazil nuts still. For those of you, as we say, I clearly see Anthony knows that.
I know
what that
those.
is. When I first heard that, I'm like, Grandma, what did you just say?
Oh,
she goes, well, that's what they're called. I'm like, Grandma, you voted for Barack Obama. How can you?
Yes. People still don't know what Brazil nut. Look at Margot. She's not in on it.
I didn't know that until I was 20.
It's a horrifically racist word before nuts. And it starts with the same
letter. Two words before it. Anyways.
I don't know what's wrong with. Oh my God! No, she need her ass whooped, because I don't know if it's that her grandma. But y'all, let me tell you something. I would take that little girl by her neck. What in the world is she got to be on some medicine? It got to be something wrong with her.
I think this woman should narrate every video.
Every video, she's great.
Yo, do you see this?
Of course, your grandfather called them that, Molly.
They standing there letting her do it, and her grandma gonna have to pay for this. This girl is crazy. Do y'all see this? Oh my God! The last time I on here, a damn car came through the door, and that this little girl in here tearing up, and her grandparents let her do it. I would knock her, the boy. Oh my God, y'all. Baby, give me the permission. Give me the permission, baby. I will knock that purple shirt off her. You heard me?
I'm 5 minutes on.
God.
I got 5 minutes, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Y'all better get. Oh my. Y'all better get. Who do she belong to? Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Oh no, darling.
Could you imagine this is your kid?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay. Getting language.
Yeah, it's bad language. And meanwhile, I just said OMG. And I just said I never take the Lord's name of it. I don't know. That's not like saying GD though, or saying Lord's name.
It's not quite as bad, no.
No, that one does slip out occasionally, but yes, it's not my bedtime. I have to go pick my daughter up at dance, and I told my wife I would do the driving tonight because I'm still trying to.
Because you need some time to write a love letter on the way back home.
Still trying to be Mr. Romance. Plot twist: the mom is the one narrating. Oh my gosh! Oh man. Yeah, my mom always would get mad at us for saying that too. It's just like GD would never. I never heard that once in my home growing up. Like my dad is funny because in front of my mom, he had such a great filter. I never heard my dad curse once growing up. And then I started working with him, and the filth that came out of that man's mouth around the work guys, I was like, what? Who are you? Like, I couldn't believe the difference in dad at home and dad at work. I'm telling you, man. I want to get my daughter in dance. Expensive hobby though, Mrs. Samantha. You have no idea how expensive dance is. And my daughters are in competition dance. It's probably like $15,000 a year. It's insane.
That is so much money.
No, it's not. It's not even normal. You're talking. When you break it up, it's over $1,000 a month. But it doesn't work like that. The dance itself is $400 a month, and then you get with these competition fees, and there's 3 or 4 competitions. And now my wife's going to California in June because the competition's in California. Like when you add all that up, is what I'm saying. It comes to like $15,000. It's crazy. Yeah, Anthony is not the 1% because of dance. If it wasn't for dance, I'd be in the 1%. I also live in New York.
If it wasn't for dance, he'd have even a more expensive broken boat.
I would. Not even kidding. Anthony's nowhere near wealthy. I promise you. First off, no matter what, like whatever I make, it's like I have to make double what Rob makes for us to be equal because I live in New York. They take like 35% state tax plus whatever the regular federal government takes. It's crazy.
Minnesota's pretty close to that, let me tell you.
I take less than 50% of my paycheck.
But your average home around here costs $100,000.
And mine is the average is like $450, $500 here. Yeah. So like my I think I owe like $400 on my house. It's crazy. But
have a good night, Brick.
Yeah, we got to bounce too. So I got to go pick my daughter up. This was a fun one.
Yeah, it was a good one. I liked having Mark on.
Yeah, I'll chop some segments up. We'll get them out to the people who didn't get to watch the whole show. Yeah. Oh, please like, subscribe. You guys know the drill. We never do it. Like we really should. We're so bad at grifting.
I do it in every single one of those daily videos I've been putting out for all 12 people that watch them.
The thing, you want to know something though? Those 12 people really are grateful though.
I know.
They're really grateful. And I don't care if it's 12 people watching them. It's 12 people reading the School of Jesus Crucified. It's worth it. It's one of those videos you don't care if it gets a lot of views if the people that are listening get a lot of benefit.
I'd be reading it anyways, so
yeah. No trivia yet, Margot. We will do trivia again, and I will host.
We just did it last week.
Yeah, seriously, this one she needs her fix. And honestly, to the couple of people who threw super chats, Kyle, Enoch, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. Very, very grateful to you guys. Guys, please share the show, man. Like Molly's right. I'm very upset and worried that the show is not growing. I think when we chop up that Stigmata clip, though, I think that one's going to blow up.
We'll see. Hopefully.
It's a great clip, man. I mean, I thought it was really good. Yeah, so Molly says never stop doing that stuff if people like it. RTF used to do that stuff and I miss it. Yeah, listen, the School of Jesus Crucified, I mean, I listen to it every day. I think it's amazing because I don't have time to read, so to hear you read it is great for me. I love that you're doing it. So
good.
And everybody says,
and your mom loves it too.
Oh, and Hope, thank you for your 50 cents. I appreciate it. YouTube thanks you for your husband's money.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We do appreciate all of you.
Yes.
30 of you who watch our show. So, all right, man. I gotta fly.
Okay. Have a good night, everyone.